everybody, and welcome to today's podcast. My name is Patricia, and I am your host for today. I wanted to say happy Valentine's Day to everybody. It's really interesting how this whole notion of love floats around, and people can feel less adequate if they're not dating or if they're single or not married because of Valentine's Day. But I want to share the love with you, tell you to take the chance and share it with somebody else. Sometimes it's not always about what you're receiving, but what you're giving. So happy Valentine's Day to everybody. If you haven't had a chance yet, please go and check out the WordPress blog. There's some new content available on there in regards to our men in regards to their hearts and how they feel when it comes to being vulnerable or expressing situations that they are not normally used to. You can find that at wordpress.com. Don't forget to subscribe. You will receive frequent blogs from myself in regards to information and anonymous feedback and comments from others that have just simply sent in DMs or information or asking questions about themselves, relationships, life purpose. The list goes on and on. So don't forget to subscribe to that. Also, please don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. I am uploading new content more frequently based on how things happen and occur in my life as well as the lives of others. So don't forget to share all of this with people. I know some people are not particularly excited about reading because it can be pretty lengthy. So the podcast is just a way for you guys to be able to listen to the material. Sometimes they vary in content. However, it is a good way for you guys to be able to listen and or read. So don't forget to subscribe and share the content. I always say share the good news with somebody. Today, this topic, my goodness, it is so sensitive for me to even discuss the events that took place last night as well as how it got to the point that I was even in the situation that I was for these events to take place. So you definitely want to stay tuned for that. Also, I have received my book back, which is published. So I'm going to be relaunching that with all the new additions, all the new wisdom and insight. And I have a couple of surprises that are going to come along with the book. So you definitely want to stay tuned to that as well. So sit back. We're going to go ahead and start with our topic or the conversation for today's podcast. Honestly, I can call this podcast so many different things. I really don't have a topic, subject, headliner. I'm just like, let me jump on. This situation literally happened less than 12 hours ago. Because it's so fresh, I want to go ahead and make sure that I elaborate in or discuss the information. So most of you know because I have posted on social media via Facebook as well as Instagram about the new job that I got as a case manager. I know it's so exciting. I've done this for so long. The difference is now that I am actually getting paid for it. They tell you that your purpose normally revolves around things that you would do for free. Um, if you find entertainment in doing it for free, then you definitely will be more blessed and happy when you're actually doing it, when you're being compensated for it. So I went ahead and released a short explanation of my journey of living in close to 90 houses, going through homelessness as far as sleeping in cars, hotels, McDonald's, Panera Breads, Barnes and Nobles, many other places in order to be able to glean the wisdom that I needed in order to be able to assume this position. And it was such of a blessing because I couldn't have put myself there. And I will probably do another podcast about that, how God miraculously put me in this position. That's not today's subject material. So, releasing that, I got into the new position this week. I am commuting from my home location to the site location. And my schedule has changed. Before I was working from 4 to midnight. Now I'm working from 8 to 5. So that is definitely an adjustment. However, this weekend, I particularly said, I'm going to go on a sabbatical, no social media. I just felt like, when you're trying to build something new, you have to spend a lot of time trying to build it. So with this new platform, as far as blogging, as well as podcasting, you're always trying to bring your audience in with new material. You're thinking about how can I make the show better? What can I do to bring the audience in? How can I keep the viewers' attention? So I kid you not, this week alone, I didn't know how maxed out I was from doing the new job, the manual is as thick as an encyclopedia of the material that I have to learn. And so it's going at a fast, accelerated pace. So I was doing that and many other things. So this weekend, like I stated, I'm going to take a sabbatical. From Friday afternoon to me getting off, I went to the grocery store, got some things, came home, planned to wash, cook, clean, keep the house in order, and just literally get off of social media and spend time to myself. That is self love, which is what today is all about. Once again, happy Valentine's Day. And so I went ahead and did that. I just logged out of all of my accounts and I just decided to sit and rest, watch a couple movies, work on some other things that really weren't about the blog or the podcast or work. Saturday comes around. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do a service for myself. I'm going to go ahead and go to the shop and get a pedicure. Now, earlier that day when I woke up, did my regular prayer and devotion, and immediately felt back tired. So I'm like, wow, why am I sleeping? Let me go ahead and go back to sleep. Went back to sleep, woke up about maybe 1. I'm like, okay, let me get something to eat. And so I cooked myself like a brunch, breakfast type of situation. And I continued to sit here and focus on other things. About 4 o'clock, I said, I want to go ahead and get the pedicure. Left my home location to get to the site to get the pedicure. For some reason, it was like a hold up. I'm thinking it's because of Valentine's Day. Everybody's there. They want to get their nails and toes done and just look very pretty for their either themselves or that person that they're in love with. After the pedicure, went to another store and then came home. And I'm like, okay, I still need to eat. So I went ahead and cooked, sat around for a little bit, and then for some reason around 9 o'clock I fell asleep again. I'm like, okay, I am still tired. Fell asleep, woke up to a text message or actually a phone call from one of my friends about 1:30, 1:30, 1:45 a.m. Ironically, I had just talked to her that Friday, actually that Thursday. We talked about me having a new job. I'm like, hey, I want to do something to celebrate. Let's go get facials. Now, this was our plan. We talked about it Thursday. She was off Friday. I said, hey, I'll get with you Friday. We can discuss what we want to do over the weekend. Maybe we can go to Cleveland or another location to get the facials. When I tell you it didn't go as planned, I literally called her that morning about 10:30 or 11 to let her know, like, hey, I didn't stiff you. I didn't just not show up, in regards to calling you back to do the facials. However, she was the person that called me at 1:45 in the morning. So I'm laughing like I called her back. I'm thinking she either dialed me by accident or that it wasn't on purpose. I said, hey, good morning. What are you doing up? She's like, oh, just riding around, not doing anything. I slept all day today, which was ironic because she didn't know I did the same thing. I slept all day today and I'm just out here just enjoying the peace and quiet. Okay, while you're riding down around at 1:45 in the morning. Okay, whatever suits you. So she's like, I'm thinking about going to get breakfast. You know, sounds interesting. I wasn't hungry because I had actually cooked dinner, but I told her I would join her. 15 minutes or so later, got myself up, got myself dressed, got myself together. We decided to go to the Waffle House. Now, it was ironic because we were back and forth between the Waffle House and IHOP. But however, we looked at IHOP and it was closed. So, Waffle House it was. So, when we pull up, she pulls up first. She sits in the car. She waits until I get there. We go in together. Upon her sitting there, she noticed that it was like a lot of young girls. She didn't tell me at the time that they were young girls, but she said it was a numerous amount of people in the Waffle House. We try to be discreet and just to ourselves. So we go in, and immediately as we walk through the door, I noticed this bunch of young girls. And it just looked like I saw their bags, but it didn't register to me like, okay, if they're having a slumber party, why are their bags here? So that just quickly went over my head. Her being more observant than me, she immediately noticed it. And it's so funny because when I called her, I said, what are you out here being Batgirl, Superwoman, lurking out in the middle of the night? Now keep that in mind because it's going to make sense when I get towards the ending of this story. We sit down, we order. Our server was all over the place. When I tell you, she was literally bringing my meal to me in portions and pieces, as far as hash browns first, then orange juice, then my entree, then her coffee, then the waffles. It was not together. So I just felt like I wanted to go and sit and talk to my friend because of some things that were going on this week. That's what we thought we were there for. Now, I normally don't go out the house after I come in. It's like, okay, after I work or get situated, I just want to sit down, I want to rest, and I want to have that quiet time. So this was very abnormal for me to be out at this hour. So we sit there. There are two gentlemen in the booth behind us, two African American gentlemen behind us in the booth. In front of us, it was four African American gentlemen. Then there were the eight girls that were over on the side and two Caucasian individuals, husband and wife, sitting at the counter. Now, mind you, as I had drove down there, I saw two African American men pulled over on the side, police cars. It was like three of them. And I said a quick prayer, like, Lord, protect them because we understand about the police brutality as far as our African American men. Side note, anytime you guys see any of that type of stuff, you definitely should pray because you don't know what they're going through. You don't know if they're being antagonized or just under scrutiny because of the color of their skin. So, with that being said, we sit there. The two girls go to the front. Now, anybody ever been in Waffle House, it's not that big. Basically, the whole area is a lobby. I mean, it's just a small place. The two girls are sitting there, they're charging their phone, but they're in the front part by the counter. The waitress, which is the only waitress and server at the time besides the cook, leans over to the girl and starts yelling at her. Hey, I can't have you in my lobby. You need to get up. You need to move. Immediately, we're alarmed. We felt as though it would have been more appropriate if she would have run around the counter to actually sit and talk to her like, hey, I can't have you guys sitting here. Is everything okay? Is there a problem? Is there something that I can do for you? These girls are innocently charging their phones. 5 or 10 minutes into us continuing to eat this meal, all of a sudden the lady, the Caucasian, the white lady that was sitting there turns around and starts making these negative comments to these young girls, telling them, you guys are too young to be out here at this age. When I was younger, my mom was strict. There was no way that I would be out here. She started to yell at the young girl, telling her to get up off the floor. It was so inappropriate. Now the whole time I'm going over my story, my friend is slightly listening, but our attention is drawn to the chaos that's taking place. The lady continues to antagonize these young girls over and over and over, making these comments. So I'm sorry, it was actually another pair of women, two Black women there as well. They get up, everybody's like, hey, leave the kids alone. They're not doing anything, they're not bothering you. Please just leave them alone. The lady gets up, she goes over to the young girls, like, hey, what's going on with you? At this time, nobody knew their story. We just knew that these girls were between the ages of 13 and 16, literally sitting in a Waffle House at 2:30 in the morning. The lady tells them, like, hey, you guys, I don't want you to get in trouble. Do you guys need help? They were trying to get a lift home. They were trying to get money together to get a lift home. The lady said, okay, when I'm done with my meal, I will go ahead and take you guys to where you need to go. So we're all sitting in there, all the African American people talking amongst ourselves, like, why is this lady bothering them? Why is she antagonizing them for no reason? So the girls start, kind of started yelling. It even got me riled up to the point where I was telling the lady, like, hey, leave them alone, mind your business. It doesn't have anything to do with you. It's so funny. It wasn't my business, and it didn't have anything to do with me and my friend either. A couple minutes later, the waitress, we're telling her, like, hey, tell her to leave them alone. But the waitress was the one that actually started it. The lady calls the police for no reason. And I'm sitting there like, why is her husband allowing her to do this? Okay, now when you look at this lady's face, she looks worn down. She looks tired. Honestly, she looks miserable. Why is he allowing her to antagonize these kids? So in my mind, I felt, okay, this is a component or issue of racism, that they feel this white privilege, that they are okay just to antagonize these kids that are not doing anything to them, not saying anything to them, and nobody stopped to think, why is it 13 to 16-year-old girls in a Waffle House at 2:30 in the morning? As the situation continues to go on, God, I'm going to show you how he miraculously intervened. The lady continues to go on and on and on. By this time, she's called the police. By this time, it's like, okay, hey, we know we need to leave. It was 8 girls. The lady that originally asked them if they needed a ride was like, okay, I'm going to leave. Everybody told this Caucasian lady, you need to be ashamed of yourself. These girls did nothing to you. It had nothing to do with you. By this time, even the 2 black gentlemen were like, okay, it's time to get up and leave. They pay, the 2 other women pay, we pay. My friend actually goes up to her and tells her, like, you need to be ashamed of yourself. This had nothing to do with you. She goes to give her a word from her mouth. It was not disrespectful, it was very tasteful, but everybody has something to say to this lady. And it's so ironic because the young girl actually ended up being a cousin of the lady that I was out to eat with, just a distant cousin that had actually never met each other. So we all go outside. Well, the lady that was there took the young girls outside, but it was 8 of them. She had a very small vehicle. And so I have my car, my friend has her Jeep, and she's like, okay, I can't really fit them in the car. Can you guys help me? So I'm like, of course. So we go outside. The 2 gentlemen, which was so amazing, they stood there. They made sure that we were okay. They waited until we walked out. They knew that something was either going to pop off or something was going to happen if the police came. Let me tell you how God divinely intervened. As soon as we go outside, we split the girls up. The lady that originally said that she wanted to take them home was not able to because we all were going to separate sides. I put 3 girls in my vehicle. My friend put 5 in hers, and we proceeded to leave. Upon leaving, seconds before we exited out of the Waffle House parking lot, the police show up. So ironic that the waiter told the young girls, the young girls were obviously upset, like, why would you call the police? We're not doing anything. And the waiter was like, hey, I'm going to tell them that you guys didn't do anything. I mean, you did give me a little bit of attitude, but I'm going to tell them that you were okay. You were just sitting over there charging your phone. But we know sometimes that does not register. They can say whatever they want to. So it was so beautiful that we left. I put the young girls in the car with me. My friend is like, I'm going to follow you. We get in the vehicle and I start talking to the girls like, okay, well, why are you guys here? Where are your parents? Why are you guys out? This story touched my heart so much. They went forward to say, we decided to have a slumber party at the hotel. While we were there, they said that a couple of their friends decided to do something that they didn't agree with. It got the hostess and the clerk at the front desk alerted. They ended up having to be woken up and kicked out of the hotel at maybe 11 or 12 at night. So these girls have been sitting in the Waffle House for hours, just simply trying to get a ride. Do you notice that? This lady was so judgmental of these girls that she couldn't perceive that these girls are in trouble and they need help. Now, in regards to why they weren't able to call their parents, that is beyond me. However, these girls needed help, and God knew that. Okay, so they told us that they ended up walking from the hotel, which was not a short distance, to the Waffle House because it was the only thing that was open, in order just to sit and wait for the ride. So as we were driving home, I told them a little bit about my story, and I made sure to address, you girls know that God orchestrated this, that he rescued you. He knew that you guys needed help, that something bad was going to come from the situation. So my friend saying that she wanted to go to the Waffle House was like a divine clearing a call to get to this location because these girls were going to be in trouble, unbeknownst to us. So funny. I'm literally calling this girl Batwoman, Batgirl, Superwoman, and we literally go and help these young girls in a bad situation that could have resulted in them going to jail or juvie because of being underage. That would have been so bad for them. Also, because their attitudes had elevated because of the antagonizing of this Caucasian woman. As I'm taking them home, immediately I noticed the answer to one of my prayers. Okay. So my question to you is, when you pray, are you willing to get up out the bed at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning to go and receive your answer? My answer came through a chaotic situation that needed me to be there in order to accept the new assignment that God is actually going to put me on with these young girls. So I persisted to tell them, like, hey, I'm a mentor. I mentor young girls. One of the young girls persisted to say that her mom works 16-hour days on the weekends, so she's never really around, which we understand. It's like, hey, step in, help these young girls. They need it. So I gave them my number. And I told him, like, hey, if you guys ever need any place to go just to come sit and chill, you're more than welcome to come over my house. I've done mentoring before, maybe like 10 years ago. Me and one of my friends, we actually started in Kenton. We would bring the girls to our houses. We would feed them. We would take them either to skating or laser quest, do something fun with them, explain God to them, and pray with them. The mentoring was literally that easy, and they were so open. And I went back to thinking how irritated I am at times with the older generation when they just write the younger generation off as though they don't want to learn. It's not that they don't want to learn. They are growing up at such of an exponential pace because of everything that is being shown to them through media, through TV, even through influences of negativity from their parents at times. They are curious. So a mind of curiosity is always going to take you into the field of doing and experimenting. I mean, you guys know we all were young once. Our parents told us not to do something. Somebody told you not to do something, you did it. So that's what's going on with them. It's just that the media makes it so much easier for them to access things that their eyes shouldn't even be available to. I mean, look at me. I'm in my 30s, and when I get on social media, it's things that I don't even want to see. So I told the young girls, like, hey, God really orchestrated this. And the young girl was like, yes, I know. You could hear the desperation in her voice that she knew God, because she was one of the ones that was actually pretty timid. Like, she didn't want to be there. When they woke up and got kicked out the hotel room, she was actually asleep. So she didn't even know anything that was taking place. So my friend, it was so amazing. They actually lived about 5 minutes from my friend and about 3 minutes from my home location. So we take them home. I exchanged my social media information with them, and I actually gave these girls my number. Divine intervention. God knew what was about to happen to those young girls, that they were innocent, but they were going to be deemed as guilty because them being young and because of the color of their skin. Now, this is so ironic because in the past couple months, there's a situation that I'm going to firmly elaborate on when I get the opportunity. I went through a splat of racism, and I was telling the people that were around me, that were watching me, racism hits you differently. It hurts your heart in a different type of way, for the simple fact that you cannot help the color of your skin. You can't help that you were born that way, that you look that way, but it gets you so much hatred, unfairness, injustice, unfair treatment, judged, treated wrong, opportunities literally taken because of the color of your skin. And these young girls didn't do anything wrong. And in my situation, I didn't do anything wrong. So I come back home. I called my friend to make sure that she made it home safe as well. And we talked. We talked about it, and it set both of us ablaze. We couldn't really go to sleep. I don't think we got off the phone till like 4:30 talking about the situation. um it was very fruitful to be there at this time. So for one, it was divine intervention to be there. That was God. He knew what was going to happen. Number two, he answered my prayer, because I have been looking in my location to actually mentor some young girls, but I didn't know how I was going to actually get linked up with the girls. Ironic enough, it was 8 of them. 8 is the number of new beginnings. And ironic, even more ironic, is that my friend, she was in the car and she talked to them. She said they didn't even understand how they could possibly go to jail. They didn't even understand how their attitudes can be the way of how they get in trouble, their disposition. They're already in trouble at times because of the color of their skin, but the attitudes sometimes make it worse. Not that they're wrong for being upset, but it can make things worse for them. So this was my night, my late night, early morning shenanigans today. I had to get on to record this morning and just literally express to you, to give a handout. Our young kids are in trouble. It's a lot of things that they don't know, a lot of wisdom that they need. If you're the one to give it to them, you will feel mandated. Like, I just feel this impression on my heart to help the younger generation. Things that you've gone through and experienced, you're just not meant to keep those to yourself. You're meant to open up and share the information with them. They're going through so many things times 10 of what older generations went through. The enemy really wants our kids. And if we don't stand up and pray and take them under our wing, to give them our wisdom, our knowledge, help them to get on the path that they should go, he is literally going to destroy them. So my question is, are you willing? Even if you have kids, are you willing to mentor their friends, to be that outlet that they need to talk to, not to train them up in unfruitful ways that are destructive, showing them how to smoke or drink or have sex or condone certain behaviors that will lead them on a destructive path. No. Are you willing to be the light in their darkness? Are you willing to help them learn how to pray and have a relationship with Jesus Christ? Because that is what they need. They are so gifted and talented and free in their minds. Their minds are literally just roaming. They need help. Are you willing? As the older generation, are you willing? So I definitely felt like I needed to get up today to record this podcast. This is not even my podcast day, but the situations are coming at such of a momentum speed. I feel like it's accelerated. I had no choice but to get up and elaborate on my feelings because now I actually feel peace that I've shared this with you. So me and my friend, we're actually going to look into ways and or methods of how we can do certain things with these young girls, because the one girl stated that she said, we live here, but it's absolutely nothing to do. I'm older and it's absolutely nothing for me to do. But sometimes when God slows you down, he slows you down to steer you right into the direction that you need to go. And it can happen at 2, 3, or 4 o'clock in the morning. Are you willing? Ironic enough, I'm normally up praying or sitting here working or something, or just in reflection or journaling around that time anyway. It was just so ironic that he had me get up and go out through an invitation from my friend to go to breakfast where I actually wasn't even going to eat. Ironic, I know, but I'm so grateful for that. So please just keep our children in your mind, on your heart. Always say a prayer of protection for them, for guidance for them. These kids are out of school right now. A lot of them are wandering aimlessly. They're literally teaching them through the computer, which is like minimum hands-on interaction. So these kids are finding whatever they can to get into. But on the flip side, the negativity is trying to find a way to get into them. So I want to thank you once again for tuning into this podcast. My heart goes out to you if you have ever been one that has endured or experienced racism on any type of level. It is so traumatizing. I even asked myself, how can I be so traumatized by the racism and injustice that I endured at the time when I was not actually a physical slave being beat, my back lashed and hanged, and things like that back in the day? But it still does leave that hurt and that pain on you, because it's like, you didn't do anything. So I thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope that something that was said inspired you. God is a God that will divinely intervene into your situation when you don't know how you're going to get out of it. These girls were stranded. They were all the way on another side of town. If they would have walked, it would have probably took them 2 hours to get home. God divinely intervened. He answered their prayers through answering my prayers of me asking, Lord, where are the children that I can help? So it was twofold. So sometimes you have a problem, but you have to look for the way that it's going to show up. It may not come like they say how you want it. And these girls sat there for hours, but it came when he knew that it needed to come. So once again, this is Patricia Tomlinson. I am your host for this podcast, Patricia's podcast. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. Do not forget to subscribe to the podcast. Share it with somebody. I'm pretty sure something on here has been said can resonate with somebody in your life. Don't forget that you can comment and leave feedback. You can also DM me for responses, feedback, and comments. I'm always open, and it makes it a little bit more interesting to hear what you guys have to say. Don't forget to link up with me on social media through Instagram, which is _ Patricia Tomlinson, and on my Facebook, which is just Patricia Tomlinson. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Enjoy this Valentine's Day. Love on somebody else, but most importantly, don't forget to love on yourself. Have a good day, everybody, and I'll see you in my next show.